CompTIA Security +701 Practice Exams Questions and Answers 2026. Flashcard 1. In a corporate office, employees are required to use their access cards to enter different sections of the building. What type of control is being implemented in this scenario? Detective control, preventive control, physical control, corrective control. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is physical control. The use of access cards to enter different sections of the building is an example of physical control, as it restricts and controls physical access to specific areas. Flashcard 2. Detective controls. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is help to identify and respond to security incidents after they have occurred. Security cameras. Flashcard 3. Preventive controls. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is aim to stop security incidents before they occur. Flashcard 4. Corrective controls. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is implemented in response to identified security incidents. Flashcard 5. A financial institution implements encryption for all sensitive data transmitted between its branches to ensure confidentiality. What type of control is being applied here? Technical control, administrative control, physical control, operational control. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is technical control. Encryption is a technical control that involves the use of technology to protect sensitive data during transmission, ensuring its confidentiality. Flashcard 6. Administrative controls. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is involve policies, procedures, and training to shape behavior. Flashcard 7. Physical controls. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is restrict access to physical areas and assets. Flashcard 8. Operational control. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is focus on day-to-day processes and procedures to ensure the security of information systems. Flashcard 9. A company encrypts sensitive customer data to prevent unauthorized access. What security principle does this primarily address? Confidentiality, integrity, availability, accountability. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is confidentiality. Encrypting sensitive customer data helps maintain confidentiality by protecting it from unauthorized access. Flashcard 10. Integrity. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is ensures that data remains accurate and unaltered. Flashcard 11. Availability. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is focuses on ensuring that resources are accessible when needed. Flashcard 12. Accountability. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is about tracking actions and identifying responsible parties. Flashcard 13. A system administrator implements regular backups to ensure that critical data can be restored in the event of a hardware failure. Which security principle does this align with? Confidentiality, integrity, availability, non-repudiation. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is availability. Regular backups contribute to the ability of critical data by ensuring it can be stored in case of a hardware failure or data loss. Flashcard 14. Confidentiality. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is about preventing unauthorized access to sensitive information. Flashcard 15. Non-repudiation. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is focuses on ensuring that a party cannot deny its actions. Flashcard 16. A security mechanism is implemented to verify that data remains unchanged during transmission over a network. Which security principle is being emphasized? Confidentiality, integrity, availability, authentication. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is integrity. Verifying data integrity ensures that it remains unchanged during transmission, guarding against unauthorized alterations. Flashcard 17. In a network environment, what AA component is responsible for tracking the activities of users and monitoring resource usage? Authentication, authorization, accounting, auditing. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is accounting. Involves tracking user activities and resource usage for the purpose of billing, auditing, and security monitoring. Flashcard 18. Auditing. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is involves the analysis of logs and records to ensure compliance and detect security incidents. Flashcard 19. Authorization. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is determines the user's access rights and permissions after successful authentication. Flashcard 20. Authentication. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is involves verifying the identity of a user. Flashcard 21. In a multi-factor authentication system, which of the following is an example of something you know? Fingerprint scan, one-time password, smart card, retina scan. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is one-time password. Something you know refers to knowledge-based factors, such as a password or PIN, and a one-time password is an example of this. Flashcard 22. Something you are. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is a biometric factor X, fingerprint scan, retina scan. Flashcard 23. Something you have. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is a possession-based factor X, smart card. Flashcard 24. What is a common outcome of a gap analysis process in the context of cybersecurity? A development of a risk management plan. B. Implementation of compensating controls. C. Creation of a security policy. D. Establishment of a remediation plan. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is establishment of a remediation plan. A common outcome of gap analysis is the identification of security gaps and the development of a remediation plan to address these gaps. Incorrect answers. Explanation. While gap analysis contributes to risk assessment, developing a risk management plan is a broader process. Compensating controls may be part of the remediation plan, but are not the primary outcome of a gap analysis. A security policy may be reviewed during gap analysis, but creating one is not a direct outcome. Flashcard 25. A company has recently implemented a new cybersecurity policy and wants to assess its current security posture. What specific steps might they take in a gap analysis process to identify areas for improvement? Conducting penetration testing to identify vulnerabilities. Reviewing existing security controls, policies, and procedures against the new policy. Assessing the organization's compliance with industry standards. Implementing new security measures without analysis. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is reviewing existing security controls, policies, and procedures against the new policy. Gap analysis involves comparing the current state against desired goals. In this scenario, reviewing existing security controls, policies, and procedures against the new policy helps identify gaps and areas for improvement. Flashcard 26. Gap analysis. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is involves comparing the current state against desired goals. Flashcard 27. Penetration testing. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is specific to identifying vulnerabilities. Flashcard 28. A multinational corporation adopts a zero-trust security model to enhance its cybersecurity posture. How might the organization implement zero-trust principles to secure its network infrastructure? Relying on a traditional perimeter firewall for network security. Implementing microsegmentation, multi-factor authentication, and continuous monitoring. Allowing unrestricted access based on network location. Trusting users based on job titles without continuous verification. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is implementing microsegmentation, multi-factor authentication, and continuous monitoring. Flashcard 29. Zero trust. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is involves implementing measures like microsegmentation, multi-factor authentication, and continuous monitoring to enhance security. Advocates for internal segmentation and continuous verification. Rejects the idea of implicit trust based on network location. Emphasizes continuous verification for all users and devices rather than trusting job titles. Flashcard 30. A global corporation is implementing policy-driven access control as part of its zero-trust strategy. How might the organization practically enforce access policies based on contextual factors? Allowing access based on static roles and permissions. Dynamically adjusting access based on user behavior, device health, and location. Trusting all entities within a specific subnet. Conducting annual security audits. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is dynamically adjusting access based on user behavior, device health, and location. The organization might dynamically adjust access based on contextual factors such as user behavior, device health, and location to enforce policies. Flashcard 31. Policy-driven access control. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is involves dynamic enforcement based on contextual factors. Flashcard 32. A healthcare organization is implementing zero-trust principles to safeguard patient data. How might the organization practically leverage adaptive identity to enhance access controls? Issuing static access credentials to all employees. Be dynamically adjusting access based on changing conditions such as user behavior. C. Trusting all devices within a specific subnet. D. Conducting annual cybersecurity training sessions. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is dynamically adjusting access based on changing conditions such as user behavior. The healthcare organization might implement adaptive identity by dynamically adjusting access based on changing conditions such as user behavior, improving access controls. Flashcard 33. Which control type involves implementing measures to prevent unauthorized access to systems and data? Detective controls, corrective controls, preventive controls, compensating controls. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is preventive controls aims to stop security incidents before they occur, such as implementing firewalls and access controls. Flashcard 34. Compensating controls. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is alternative measures implemented to compensate for the lack of a primary control. Flashcard 35. A large retail company is implementing a zero-trust model to secure its online customer data. How might the organization apply the principle of threat scope reduction to protect customer information? Granting unrestricted access to all employees. B. Utilizing encryption for data in transit. C. Segmenting the network to isolate sensitive customer databases. D. Trusting devices solely based on their location. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is segmenting the network to isolate sensitive customer databases. The organization might reduce the threat scope by segmenting the network to isolate sensitive customer databases, limiting potential exposure in case of a security incident. Flashcard 36. Threat scope reduction. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is cease to restrict access, limit the user's access to only what they need for their work tasks, because this drastically reduces the network's potential attack surface. Flashcard 37. In a city center, where there is a potential threat of vehicle attacks, how might bollards strategically placed around public spaces enhance security? Guiding pedestrians to designated entry points. B. Enhancing the aesthetics of the surroundings. C. Restricting vehicle access and preventing ramming attacks. D. Providing seating areas for outdoor events. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is restricting vehicle access and preventing ramming attacks. Bollards strategically placed around public spaces enhance security by restricting vehicle access and preventing ramming attacks, mitigating the potential threat of vehicles being used as weapons. Flashcard 38. Why is change management considered crucial for maintaining a secure IT environment? To accelerate the deployment of new technologies for enhanced security. B. To ensure that changes are thoroughly planned, tested, and approved to prevent security vulnerabilities. C. To minimize the involvement of security teams in the implementation of new systems. D. To prioritize speed over accuracy in adapting to evolving security threats. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is to ensure that changes are thoroughly planned, tested, and approved to prevent security vulnerabilities. Change management is crucial for maintaining a secure IT environment as it ensures that changes are thoroughly planned, tested, and approved, reducing the risk of introducing security vulnerabilities. Flashcard 39. Change management. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is crucial for maintaining a secure IT environment as it ensures that changes are thoroughly planned, tested, and approved, reducing the risk of introducing security vulnerabilities. Flashcard 40. Which of the following best describes the purpose of conducting an impact analysis in change management operations? A. To expedite changes without considering their impact. B. To identify potential security vulnerabilities. C. To understand the consequences of proposed changes on security. D. To limit the scope of the approval process. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is to understand the consequences of proposed changes on security. Conducting an impact analysis in the context of security operations is crucial to understand the potential consequences of proposed changes on security. It helps in assessing risks, identifying vulnerabilities, and making informed decisions to mitigate potential negative impacts. Flashcard 41. A manufacturing plant installs security cameras at entry points and critical areas to monitor and record activities. What type of control is this? Detective control, deterrent control, corrective control, preventive control. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is detective control. Security cameras, in this case, serve as detective controls by monitoring and recording activities for later review, helping to identify and respond to security incidents. Flashcard 42. Deterrent control. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is designed to discourage potential attackers. Flashcard 43. Why is identifying stakeholders important in change management operations? Stakeholders are only concerned with non-security aspects of business processes. B. Identifying stakeholders ensures that security teams have sole responsibility for decision-making. C. Stakeholders may have vested interests and influence in security-related decisions. D. Stakeholders are not relevant in the approval process. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is stakeholders may have vested interests and influence in security-related decisions. Identifying stakeholders is important in security operations because stakeholders may have vested interests and influence in security-related decisions. Involving relevant stakeholders ensures a comprehensive and well-informed decision-making process. Flashcard 44. What is the purpose of an approval process in change management, and how does it contribute to security operations? Ensures that all stakeholders are notified of the change. B. Verifies that the change aligns with organizational security policies. C. Speeds up the change implementation process. D. Assigns ownership to the change. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is verifies that the change aligns with organizational security policies. An approval process in change management is designed to verify that proposed changes align with organizational policies and standards, ensuring that they meet security requirements. Flashcard 45. Identify and describe the primary stakeholders involved in the approval of a security change. How do their roles differ, and why is their involvement crucial? A. Only IT personnel or stakeholders. Their role is to approve or reject changes. B. Stakeholders include anyone in the organization. Their roles may vary from approvers to implementers. C. Stakeholders are limited to the security team. Their role is to analyze the impact of changes. D. Stakeholders are external entities. Their role is to audit the change process. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is stakeholders include anyone in the organization. Their roles may vary from approvers to implementers. Stakeholders in change management can include a range of individuals within the organization, with roles varying from those who approve changes to those who implement them. Their involvement is crucial for a well-rounded decision-making process. Flashcard 46. What is the primary purpose of the approval process in change management? A. To document every change made in the organization. B. To ensure that proposed changes are reviewed and authorized. C. To assign blame in case of a security incident. D. To expedite the implementation of changes without thorough assessment. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is to ensure that proposed changes are reviewed and authorized. The approval process in change management is designed to ensure that proposed changes are thoroughly reviewed and authorized before implementation. This helps prevent unauthorized or potentially harmful changes that could impact security. Flashcard 47. Which control type focuses on minimizing the impact of a security incident and restoring normal operations quickly? Preventive controls, detective controls, corrective controls, deterrent controls. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is corrective controls. Corrective controls are implemented to mitigate the impact of security incidents and restore systems to normal operations. Flashcard 48. How do allow lists and deny lists contribute to security in an organization's network? Allow lists ensure unrestricted access, while deny lists restrict access to authorized entities. B. Allow lists specify authorized entities, while deny lists specify entities to be blocked. C. Allow lists and deny lists are interchangeable terms for the same security concept. D. Allow lists and deny lists are not relevant to network security. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is allow lists specify authorized entities, while deny lists specify entities to be blocked. Allow lists explicitly specify entities that are granted access, while deny lists specify entities that should be blocked. This approach helps enhance security by explicitly defining what is allowed and disallowing anything not explicitly permitted. Flashcard 49. Why is restarting a service a common practice in response to security incidents? A. To permanently disable the service and prevent future incidents. B. To erase logs and hide evidence of the incident. C. To apply security updates and patches. D. To expedite the resolution of the incident without investigation. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is to apply security updates and patches. Restarting a service can apply security updates and patches, ensuring that the service runs with the latest security fixes. It helps address vulnerabilities and improve the overall security posture. Flashcard 50. A security incident response team is investigating a data breach in which sensitive customer information may have been compromised. What is the most critical aspect of documentation during this incident response process? Documenting the steps taken during the investigation and remediation. B. Providing detailed information on the team members' personal experiences. C. Recording personal opinions about the cause of the data breach. D. Omitting details to avoid potential legal consequences. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is documenting the steps taken during the investigation and remediation. The most critical aspect of documentation during an incident response process is to document the steps taken during the investigation and remediation. This documentation is crucial for understanding the incident, communicating with stakeholders, and improving future response efforts. Flashcard 51. A company is transitioning its email infrastructure from an on-premises solution to a cloud-based service. What are the primary technical implications of this transition? A reduced reliance on internet connectivity. B. Enhanced control over physical infrastructure. C. Increased scalability and accessibility. D. Decreased reliance on third-party providers. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is increased scalability and accessibility. The primary technical implications of transitioning to a cloud-based email service include increased scalability and accessibility, allowing for easier expansion of resources and improved access from various locations. Incorrect answers explanations. A cloud-based services often rely on internet connectivity, and the transition may increase dependence on it. The cloud services typically involve relinquishing control over physical infrastructure in favor of the cloud provider's infrastructure. Detransitioning to a cloud-based service typically increases reliance on third-party cloud providers rather than decreasing it. Flashcard 52. An organization is concerned about potential information leakage and wants to ensure the confidentiality of sensitive data transmitted over the network. What application of steganography would address this concern? Hiding a confidential document within a seemingly unrelated image file. B. Replacing credit card numbers with tokens for secure storage. C. Scrambling personally identifiable information PII in a database. D. Encrypting sensitive emails before transmission. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is hiding a confidential document within a seemingly unrelated image file. Hiding a confidential document within a seemingly unrelated image file using steganography can address concerns about information leakage by concealing the sensitive data during transmission. Incorrect answers explanations. B. This is an application of tokenization, not steganography, and focuses on secure storage, not transmission. C. This is an application of data masking, not steganography, and focuses on securing data at rest. D. This is an application of encryption, not steganography, and involves transforming the data to make it unreadable without the proper key. Flashcard 53. An organization is planning to implement a public key infrastructure PKI for securing its communication channels and authenticating users. What are the key components of a PKI that the organization should consider? A. Only digital certificates. B. Only public keys. See digital certificates, public and private key pairs, and the certificate authority CA. D. Private keys and certificate revocation lists CRLS only. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is digital certificates, public and private key pairs, and the certificate authority CA. A PKI comprises digital certificates, public and private key pairs, and a certificate authority CA. Digital certificates bind public keys to entities, and the CA verifies their authenticity. Flashcard 54. A company has implemented a PKI for its internal network, and employees use digital certificates for secure access. One employee loses their smart card containing the private key. What is the appropriate action to take in this scenario? Ignore the incident since the smart card is likely to be found. B. Reissue the same digital certificate with the existing private key. C. Revoke the compromised certificate and issue a new one with a new key pair. D. Reissue the digital certificate with the same private key but update the employee's name. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is revoke the compromised certificate and issue a new one with a new key pair. In the event of a lost or compromised private key, the appropriate action is to revoke the compromised certificate and issue a new one with a new key pair to maintain security. Flashcard 55. A development team is working on a critical software application. They are using version control to manage the source code. Why is version control essential in this scenario? A. To ensure that only one person can work on the code at a time. B. To track changes, maintain a history of revisions, and enable collaboration. C. To limit access to the source code and protect intellectual property. D. To increase the size of the codebase by storing redundant copies. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is to track changes, maintain a history of revisions, and enable collaboration. Version control is essential in software development to track changes, maintain a history of revisions, and enable collaboration among team members. It allows for efficient management of code changes, identification of issues, and collaborative development. Flashcard 56. A government agency is implementing a PKI for secure communications. The agency is concerned about potential loss of access to encrypted data if an employee leaves or loses their private key. What PKI concept addresses this concern? Certificate revocation list CRLS. Key escrow. Certificate signing request CSR. Online certificate status protocol OXP. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is key escrow. Key escrow is a PKI concept that involves storing a copy of a user's private key in a secure location, addressing concerns about potential data loss if access to the private key is lost. Flashcard 57. Certificate revocation list CRLS. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is used to revoke compromised certificates. Updated periodically. Flashcard 58. Certificate signing request CSR. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is a request for a digital certificate. Flashcard 59. Online certificate status protocol OXP. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is used to check the status of a certificate. Provides real-time status. Flashcard 60. An organization is implementing a PKI and is considering methods for checking the revocation status of digital certificates. Which statement accurately describes the difference between Online Certificate Status Protocol (OCSP) and Certificate Revocation List (CRLS)? A OCSP provides real-time certificate status, while CRLs are only updated periodically. VCRLs provide real-time certificate status, while OCSP is only updated periodically. COCSP and CRLs both provide real-time certificate status. Neither OCSP nor CRLs provide information about certificate revocation. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is OCSP provides real-time certificate status, while CRLs are only updated periodically. OCSP allows for real-time checking of a certificate's revocation status, whereas CRLs are typically updated periodically, and clients must download and check the list at intervals. Flashcard 61. An organization is implementing encryption for securing its sensitive data. The team is debating whether to use symmetric or asymmetric encryption. What is a key consideration when deciding between symmetric and asymmetric encryption? A symmetric encryption is more secure than asymmetric encryption. Asymmetric encryption is faster than symmetric encryption. Symmetric encryption requires the exchange of secret keys. Asymmetric encryption uses a single key for both encryption and decryption. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is symmetric encryption requires the exchange of secret keys. In symmetric encryption, a key must be shared between parties, posing a key exchange challenge. Asymmetric encryption, on the other hand, uses key pairs, eliminating the need to share a secret key. Flashcard 62. Symmetric encryption. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is a key must be shared between parties, posing a key exchange challenge. Faster depending on the specific requirements. Flashcard 63. Asymmetric encryption. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is uses key pairs, eliminating the need to share a secret key. One key for encryption and another for decryption. Flashcard 64. An e-commerce website is implementing TLS to secure the transmission of customer data during online transactions. What is the primary purpose of TLS in this context? Encrypting stored customer data in the database. Ensuring the integrity of customer data during transmission. Simplifying user authentication processes. Reducing the website's operational costs. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is ensuring the integrity of customer data during transmission. TLS Transport Layer Security ensures the integrity and confidentiality of data during transmission over the network, making it a crucial technology for securing online transactions. Flashcard 65. An organization is implementing encryption to secure sensitive data, and they are considering using the Advanced Encryption Standard AES. What key lengths are commonly used with AES for secure encryption? 64-bit keys, 128-bit keys, 256-bit keys, 512-bit keys. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is 128-bit keys. AES commonly uses key lengths of 128 bits, which provides a high level of security, while AES supports other key lengths like 192 bits and 256 bits. 128 bits is widely adopted and considered secure for most applications. FlashGuard 66. An organization is implementing a security strategy for its devices and wants to ensure the integrity of the system boot process. Which cryptographic tool is designed to provide a secure root of trust for the system and help protect against attacks such as firmware tampering? Hardware Security Module HSM. Key Management System. Trusted Platform Module TPM. Secure Enclave. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Trusted Platform Module TPM. TPM is designed to provide a secure root of trust for the system by ensuring the integrity of the boot process and protecting against attacks such as firmware tampering. FlashGuard 67. Hardware Security Module HSM. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is used for secure key storage and cryptographic operations. Provide dedicated hardware-based protection for keys. FlashGuard 68. Key Management System. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is focuses on the secure management of cryptographic keys. FlashGuard 69. Secure Enclave. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is a separate, isolated area within a processor designed to protect sensitive information during runtime. FlashGuard 70. A financial institution is implementing a system to securely store and manage cryptographic keys used in its payment processing application. Which cryptographic tool is best suited for this purpose, providing a dedicated hardware-based solution for key protection? Key Management System. Trusted Platform Module TPM. Hardware Security Module HSM. Secure Enclave. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Hardware Security Module HSM. HSMs are dedicated hardware devices designed to provide secure key storage and cryptographic operations. They are commonly used in financial and other security-critical applications. FlashGuard 71. Trusted Platform Module TPM. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is focused on ensuring the integrity of the system and securing the boot process. FlashGuard 72. A mobile device manufacturer is implementing a security feature to protect sensitive user data, such as biometric information and device-specific keys. What cryptographic tool is commonly used to create a secure, isolated environment within the device's processor? Trusted Platform Module TPM. Hardware Security Module HSM. Key Management System. Secure Enclave. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Secure Enclave. A secure enclave is a secure, isolated area within a processor that is designed to protect sensitive information, such as biometric data and cryptographic keys, during runtime. FlashGuard 73. A cybersecurity analyst discovers an image file shared online, suspecting that it may contain hidden information. What technique might be employed to hide sensitive data within the image while maintaining the image's appearance? Encryption, steganography, tokenization, data masking. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Steganography is the practice of concealing information within another medium, such as hiding data within an image, without affecting the image's apparent structure. Flashcard 74. A financial institution wants to enhance the security of its payment processing system by reducing the storage of sensitive cardholder information. What technique can the institution use to replace the actual credit card numbers with unique tokens for storage and transaction processing? Encryption, steganography, tokenization, data masking. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is tokenization. Tokenization involves replacing sensitive data with unique tokens, which can be used for transaction processing while reducing the storage of actual sensitive information. Flashcard 75. A healthcare organization is preparing a dataset for research purposes while ensuring that the personally identifiable information (PAI) of patients remains confidential. What technique could the organization use to replace actual names and addresses with fictitious or generalized information? Encryption, steganography, tokenization, data masking. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is data masking. Data masking involves the process of replacing or scrambling sensitive information with fictitious or generalized data to protect confidentiality while maintaining the overall structure of the dataset. Flashcard 76. A database administrator is implementing a password storage mechanism to enhance security. What is the primary purpose of using a random solve for each user's password? A. To make passwords more memorable for users. B. To prevent rainbow table attacks. C. To reduce the computational overhead of password hashing. D. To simplify password recovery processes. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is to prevent rainbow table attacks. Salting involves adding a unique random value salt to each user's password before hashing. This helps prevent rainbow table attacks by ensuring that the same password will have different hash values for different users. Flashcard 77. An organization is implementing a system to verify the authenticity and integrity of digitally signed documents. What is the primary purpose of using digital signatures in this context? A. To encrypt the entire document for confidentiality. B. To provide a timestamp for the document. C. To verify the identity of the document's sender. D. To ensure the document has not been altered. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is to ensure the document has not been altered. Digital signatures are used to ensure the authenticity and integrity of a document by providing a way to verify that the document has not been altered since the signature was applied. Flashcard 78. Digital signatures. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is primary purpose is to verify the integrity and authenticity of a document. Flashcard 79. An organization is planning to implement a blockchain-based system for secure and transparent record keeping. What are two key security features associated with blockchain technology? A. Centralized control and single point of failure protection. B. Data encryption and decentralized consensus. C. Closed ledger and data obfuscation. D. Single sign-on and access control lists. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is data encryption and decentralized consensus. Two key security features associated with blockchain technology are data encryption, which helps protect the confidentiality of information, and decentralized consensus, which enhances the integrity and availability of the data. Flashcard 80. Blockchain. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is known for its decentralized nature and centralized control. Helps mitigate single points of failure. It does so through decentralization, typically open and transparent. Flashcard 81. A company is considering using a blockchain with an open public ledger for its supply chain management. What privacy concerns should the company address when utilizing an open public ledger? A centralized control of data. B. Limited accessibility of transaction history. C. Data transparency and immutability. D. Protection of proprietary information. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is protection of proprietary information. When using an open public ledger, protecting proprietary information becomes a privacy concern. Companies must ensure that sensitive business details are not exposed to unauthorized parties. Flashcard 82. A website is storing user passwords and wants to enhance security by using a hash function. What is a crucial property of a secure hash function? A reversibility, allowing the recreation of the original password. B. Collision resistance, preventing different inputs from producing the same hash. C. Slow computation to deter attackers. D. Generating the same hash for similar passwords. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is collision resistance, preventing different inputs from producing the same hash. A secure hash function should be collision resistant, meaning it should be challenging for different inputs to produce the same hash value. Flashcard 83. An organization is using legacy applications critical to its business operations. What is a primary security concern associated with legacy applications? A. They are typically cloud native. B. They may have unpatched vulnerabilities. C. They use modern cryptographic algorithms. D. 0. They provide automatic updates. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is they may have unpatched vulnerabilities. Legacy applications often pose a security concern because they may have unpatched vulnerabilities. These applications may not receive updates or support, making them susceptible to exploitation. Flashcard 84. An organization is implementing a secure communication system and wants to ensure that participants cannot deny their involvement in the communication. What security concept addresses this concern? Confidentiality, non-repudiation, availability, integrity. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is non-repudiation. Non-repudiation ensures that a participant cannot deny their involvement in a communication or transaction. It provides evidence of the origin or delivery of data. Flashcard 85. A network administrator is configuring a system to use a secure authentication protocol for remote access. What is a commonly used protocol for authenticating systems in this context? HTTP, LDAP, SNMP, Radius. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Radius. Radius remote authentication dial-in user service is commonly used for authenticating systems, especially in the context of remote access. It provides a centralized authentication and authorization service. Flashcard 86. HTTP. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Hypertransfer Protocol, a web protocol. Flashcard 87. LDAP. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Lightweight Directory Access Protocol used for directory services. Flashcard 88. SNMP. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Simple Network Management Protocol used for network management and monitoring. Flashcard 89. Which of the following terms best describes a type of software that disguises itself as legitimate software, but contains malicious code that can compromise the security of a system? Malware, ransomware, adware, firewall. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is malware. Malware, short for malicious software, is software designed to infiltrate or damage computer systems while often appearing as legitimate software. It includes various types such as viruses, trojans, and spyware. Flashcard 90. Ransomware. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is a specific type of malware that encrypts files and demands a ransom. Flashcard 91. Adware. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is unwanted software that displays advertisements. Flashcard 92. Firewall. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is a security device used to control incoming and outgoing network traffic. Flashcard 93. Which of the following best describes the concept of a zero-day vulnerability? A vulnerability that has been in existence for 0 days. B. A vulnerability that has been exploited for 0 days. C. A vulnerability that is unknown to the software vendor and has no available patch. D. A vulnerability that is at the lowest risk level. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is a vulnerability that is unknown to the software vendor and has no available patch. Flashcard 94. What is the primary goal of a honeypot in a network security? A device used to capture and analyze network traffic for security purposes. B. A deceptive system designed to attract and monitor malicious activity. C. A secure storage location for sensitive data. D. A type of firewall used to filter incoming and outgoing traffic. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is a deceptive system designed to attract and monitor malicious activity. Flashcard 95. Honeypot. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is a security mechanism that lures potential attackers into a controlled environment where their activities can be monitored and analyzed without posing a real threat to the production network. Flashcard 96. Sniffer. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is network analyzer, term for capturing and analyzing network traffic. Flashcard 97. What is a common characteristic of a man-in-the-middle MIT-M attack? A. The attacker intercepts and alters data between two parties without their knowledge. B. The attacker floods a network with excessive traffic to overwhelm it. C. The attacker disguises malicious code as legitimate software. D. The attacker gains unauthorized access to a system using stolen credentials. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is: the attacker intercepts and alters data between two parties without their knowledge. Flashcard 98. DOS attack. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is: denial of service. Flooding a network with excessive traffic involves overwhelming a network or server with traffic from various sources. Flashcard 99. A security administrator has noticed several unauthorized access attempts to the organization's internal systems. These attempts are often based on trying common username and password combinations. Which type of attack does this scenario most likely describe? SQL injection attack, brute force attack, DDoS attack, cross-site scripting, XSS attack. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is: brute force attack. The scenario describes a brute force attack where an attacker attempts to gain access by trying many possible username and password combinations. This is a common method used to crack passwords. Flashcard 100. SQL injection attack. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is: involve manipulating a database's queries. Flashcard 101. Cross-site scripting, XSS attack. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is: target web applications. Flashcard 102. A company's web application was recently compromised, and customer data was stolen. The company's cybersecurity team discovers that the attackers exploited a vulnerability in the application's code to gain unauthorized access. What type of attack is this? SQL injection attack, man-in-the-middle attack, cross-site scripting, XSS attack, zero-day vulnerability. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is: SQL injection attack. The scenario describes an SQL injection attack where attackers exploit vulnerabilities in web application code to gain unauthorized access to a database. Flashcard 103. An organization's website has been receiving an unusually high volume of web traffic, which has made the site unresponsive. The traffic appears to be coming from various sources and seems to be overloading the server. What type of attack is this scenario indicating? Phishing attack, man-in-the-middle attack, denial of service, DOS attack, ransomware attack. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is: denial of service, DOS attack. The scenario describes a denial of service, DOS attack where attackers flood a server or network with excessive traffic to make services unavailable to legitimate users. Flashcard 104. What is the primary purpose of a denial of service, DOS attack? A. To steal sensitive data from a network. B. To gain unauthorized access to a system. C. To disrupt or make a service unavailable to its users. D. To intercept and eavesdrop on network communications. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is: to disrupt or make a service unavailable to its users. A denial of service, DOS attack aims to overwhelm a system or network, rendering its services unavailable to legitimate users by flooding it with excessive traffic or other disruptive actions. Flashcard 105. An employee has lost their company-issued smartphone, and it contains sensitive corporate data. What kind of threat does this scenario illustrate? Phishing attack, insider threat, physical security breach, ransomware attack. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is physical security breach. The scenario illustrates a physical security breach where the loss of a device, in this case, a smartphone, leads to the potential exposure of sensitive data. Flashcard 106. A network administrator has implemented a firewall rule that allows only specific incoming traffic from trusted IP addresses and denies all other incoming traffic. What security principle does this rule exemplify? Principle of least privilege, defense in depth, zero trust security by design. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is principle of least privilege. The firewall rule aligns with the principle of least privilege, where access is restricted to only what is necessary for users or systems to perform their functions. Flashcard 107. Defense in depth. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is involves multiple layers of security controls. Flashcard 108. Security by design. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is incorporating security from the beginning of system development. Flashcard 109. Which attack involves a flood of connection requests with falsified IP addresses to overwhelm a server? SYN flood DDoS attack, man-in-the-middle MIT-M DNS spoofing. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is SYN flood overwhelms a server with connection requests using falsified or spoofed IP addresses, consuming resources and rendering the server unavailable. Flashcard 110. DNS spoofing. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is manipulates DNS records to redirect users. Flashcard 111. A company is conducting a security audit and penetration testing on its network to identify and rectify vulnerabilities before malicious actors can exploit them. What security practice is this organization following? Incident response, security assessment, security awareness training, least privilege. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is security assessment. The organization is conducting a security assessment, specifically penetration testing, to identify and rectify vulnerabilities in its network. Flashcard 112. Incident response. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is the process of managing and mitigating security incidents. Flashcard 113. Principle of least privilege. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is providing minimum necessary access to perform tasks. Flashcard 114. An organization has set up a dedicated network segment for guest wireless access, which is isolated from its internal network. What security principle does this network segmentation align with? Principle of least privilege, defense in depth, network segmentation, security by design. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is network segmentation. Network segmentation is the practice of dividing a network into isolated segments to enhance security by controlling access and limiting the potential for lateral movement by attackers. Flashcard 115. An organization is setting up a disaster recovery site in a geographically distant location from its primary data center. What type of disaster recovery strategy is this? High availability cold site, hot site, warm site. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is hot site. A hot site is a disaster recovery strategy where a fully operational data center is set up in a geographically distant location, ready to take over in case of a disaster. It offers the highest level of availability. Flashcard 116. High availability. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is about minimizing downtime for critical systems. Flashcard 117. Cold site. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is a facility with power and HVAC but lacks active equipment. Flashcard 118. Warm site. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is a facility with some pre-configured equipment but not fully operational. Flashcard 119. An attacker calls an employee, pretending to be a colleague from another department, and requests sensitive information to complete a report. What type of social engineering technique is this? Impersonation, tailgating, phishing. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is impersonation. Impersonation involves pretending to be someone the target knows and trusts to manipulate them into disclosing sensitive information. Flashcard 120. An attacker poses as a delivery person carrying a package for a company and convinces an employee to let them into the building. Once inside, the attacker gains unauthorized access to the company's network. What type of social engineering technique is this? Tailgating, pretexting, phishing. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is tailgating. Tailgating, also known as piggybacking, involves an attacker following an authorized person into a secure area by appearing as if they belong there. Flashcard 121. Pretexting. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is involves creating a fabricated scenario to deceive individuals, often over the phone. Flashcard 122. An employee receives an email from what appears to be their company's IT department. The email requests that the employee reset their email password due to a security breach. The email contains a link to a login page. What kind of threat is the employee facing? Phishing attack, insider threat, man-in-the-middle attack, ransomware attack. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is phishing attack. This scenario describes a phishing attack. Phishing is a type of attack where attackers impersonate trusted entities to trick individuals into revealing sensitive information, often by luring them to fake login pages. Flashcard 123. During a penetration test, the tester attempts to gain unauthorized access to a system by exploiting known vulnerabilities without any prior knowledge of the target. What type of penetration testing technique is this? White box testing, black box testing, gray box testing, vulnerability scanning. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Black box testing. Black box testing is a type of penetration testing where the tester has no prior knowledge of the target system and attempts to find and exploit vulnerabilities. Flashcard 124. White box testing. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is involves testing with full knowledge of the target system. Flashcard 125. Gray box testing. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is a mix of both white box and black box testing. Flashcard 126. Vulnerability scanning. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is a process of identifying and classifying vulnerabilities. Flashcard 127. A penetration tester uses a vulnerability scanner to identify known security issues in a target system. What phase of the penetration testing process does this action belong to? Scoping, information gathering, vulnerability analysis, exploitation. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is vulnerability analysis. Using a vulnerability scanner to identify known security issues falls under the vulnerability analysis phase of penetration testing. Flashcard 128. Scoping. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is the initial phase that defines the scope and objectives of the test. Flashcard 129. Exploitation. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is the phase where vulnerabilities are actively exploited. Flashcard 130. In a penetration test, tools and techniques are used to mimic an attacker trying to gain unauthorized access to a target system. What type of penetration testing is this? Red teaming, blue teaming, social engineering testing, passive testing. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is red teaming. Red teaming involves mimicking the actions of an attacker to evaluate the effectiveness of a system's defenses. Flashcard 131. Blue teaming. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is a defensive exercise that evaluates a system's security. Flashcard 132. A security analyst discovers that a particular application does not properly manage its memory allocations, which can lead to data corruption and potentially execute arbitrary code. What potential application attack indicator is this situation most likely related to? Buffer overflows, race conditions, error handling, improper input handling. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is buffer overflows. Buffer overflows occur when an application writes data beyond the allocated memory, potentially leading to data corruption and code execution. Flashcard 133. Race conditions. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is related to timing and concurrency issues. Flashcard 134. Error handling. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is typically involves how an application responds to errors. Flashcard 135. Improper input handling. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is relates to data validation. Flashcard 136. An attacker intercepts a legitimate user's request and resends it multiple times to manipulate the application into performing unintended actions. What potential application attack indicator does this situation most likely represent? Replay attack, integer overflow, request forgeries, memory leak. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is replay attack. In a replay attack, an attacker intercepts and resends legitimate requests to manipulate the application into performing unintended actions. Flashcard 137. Integer overflow. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is related to numerical values exceeding their limits. Flashcard 138. Request forgeries. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is involve tricking users into making unwanted requests. Flashcard 139. Memory leak. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is relates to memory management issues. Flashcard 140. Threat actors who is motivated by financial gain and often uses malicious software to encrypt a victim's data and demand a ransom is typically referred to as a hacktivist, a script kiddie, a cybercriminal, a nation-state actor. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is a cybercriminal. Cybercriminals are motivated by financial gain and commonly use ransomware to demand payments from victims. Flashcard 141. Hacktivist. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is hacking for social or political causes. Flashcard 142. Script kiddies. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is individuals with limited hacking skills who often use pre-existing tools. Flashcard 143. Nation-state actors. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is affiliated with governments and engage in cyberespionage or cyber warfare. Flashcard 144. Which attack involves flooding a network with ICMP echo request packets sent to a broadcast address? SYN flood, Smurf attack, DDoS attack, DNS amplification attack. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Smurf attack. A Smurf attack sends ICMP echo request packets to a network's broadcast address, causing a flood of replies to the victim's IP. Flashcard 145. SYN flood. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is involves overwhelming a server with TCP connection requests. Flashcard 146. DNS amplification attack. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is involves using DNS servers to flood a victim with DNS response traffic. Flashcard 147. Which of the following threat vectors involves tricking individuals into revealing sensitive information or performing actions that compromise security? Malware social engineering distributed denial of service DDoS zero-day exploits. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is social engineering. Social engineering involves manipulating individuals to reveal sensitive information or perform actions against their best interests. Flashcard 148. What is a common security concern associated with cross-site request forgery? CSRF vulnerabilities. A. Unauthorized data modification. B. Unauthorized access to system resources. C. Injection of malicious code into web pages. D. Denial of service. DDoS attacks. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is unauthorized data modification. CSRF vulnerabilities can lead to unauthorized data modification when an attacker tricks a user into performing unwanted actions. Flashcard 149. Which of the following encryption algorithms is considered the most secure and widely used for securing Internet communications? A. DS Data Encryption Standard. BAS Advanced Encryption Standard. C. RSA Rivas Jammy Adelman. DMD5 Message Digest Algorithm 5. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is AS Advanced Encryption Standard. Flashcard 150. RSA Rivas Jammy Adelman. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is an asymmetric encryption algorithm used for key exchange and digital signatures. Flashcard 151. MD5 Message Digest Algorithm 5. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is a cryptographic hash function no longer considered secure. Flashcard 152. In a recent high-profile cybersecurity incident, attackers targeted a multinational corporation's executive team with personalized emails, tricking them into revealing sensitive company data and financial information. What type of attack is this scenario describing? Ransomware attack, whaling attack, spear phishing attack, DDoS attack. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is whaling attack, where high-ranking individuals within an organization are targeted with personalized emails to deceive them into revealing sensitive information. Flashcard 153. Spear phishing attack. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is target specific individuals or organizations, typically through malicious emails. Flashcard 154. DDoS attack, disrupted denial of service. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is occurs when multiple systems flood the bandwidth or resources of a targeted system, usually one or more web servers. Aims to disrupt services by overwhelming them with traffic. Flashcard 155. A security researcher discovered that a popular social media website had been compromised by attackers. The attackers had injected malicious code into the site, which infected the devices of users who visited the compromised pages. What type of attack is this scenario describing? Ransomware attack, watering hole attack, type squatting attack, spear phishing attack. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is watering hole attack, where attackers compromise a legitimate website that their intended victims frequently visit, infecting visitors' devices with malware. Flashcard 156. A cybercriminal registers domain names that are similar to well-known banking websites but contain minor typographical errors. Users who mistype the URLs may be redirected to these fraudulent sites, leading to potential credential theft. What kind of attack is being depicted in this scenario? Man in the middle MIT-M attack, type squatting attack, phishing attack, watering hole attack. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is type squatting attack, where domain names with minor typographical errors are registered to deceive users into visiting fraudulent websites. Flashcard 157. An attacker goes through the company's trash bins, searching for discarded documents, invoices, and other materials that might contain sensitive information. What kind of physical security threat does this scenario illustrate? Dumpster diving, social engineering attack, shoulder surfing, physical intrusion. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is dumpster diving, where an attacker searches through trash or discarded materials to obtain sensitive information. Flashcard 158. A company's security team discovered that a group of hackers had been scanning the organization's network and systems, attempting to find vulnerabilities that could be exploited. This prelude to an attack is a classic example of which cybersecurity activity? Intrusion detection, dumpster diving, reconnaissance, encryption. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is reconnaissance, where attackers gather information about potential targets and vulnerabilities to prepare for an attack. Flashcard 159. Intrusion detection. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is involves identifying and responding to unauthorized access or malicious activities after an attack has started. Flashcard 160. Which attack aims to manipulate a website to redirect users to a fraudulent site that appears legitimate to steal their information? SQL injection, cross-site scripting, XSS DNS spoofing, URL hijacking. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is DNS spoofing manipulates the DNS records to redirect users to a fraudulent site, typically appearing legitimate, intending to steal their information. Flashcard 161. SQL injection. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is involves manipulating databases. Flashcard 162. Cross-site scripting, XSS. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is involves injecting malicious scripts into a website. Flashcard 163. Which type of attack involves the modification or interception of communication between two parties without their knowledge? Man in the middle MIT-M buffer overflow, spoofing, zero-day exploit. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is man in the middle MIT-M attacks intercept and manipulate communications between two parties without their awareness, allowing attackers to eavesdrop or modify data. Flashcard 164. Which attack involves falsifying the origin of an email to make it appear as though it's from a trusted source? Smurf attack, phishing, spoofing, zero-day exploit. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Spoofing involves altering information to appear as if it comes from a legitimate source, commonly seen in email addresses to deceive recipients. Flashcard 165. What is the primary aim of a SQL injection attack? Disrupting network connections, altering DNS records, gaining unauthorized access to a database, executing ransomware. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is gaining unauthorized access to a database. SQL injection attacks manipulate a web application's input to gain unauthorized access or control over a database. Flashcard 166. What could be a potential indicator of a brute force attack on a network? A rapid increase in legitimate traffic. B. Repeated login attempts with different credentials. C. Decrease in CPU usage on the server. D. Increase in available system resources. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is repeated login attempts with different credentials. A brute force attack involves repeated attempts to gain unauthorized access by trying various login credentials, which could be a potential indicator of this attack. Flashcard 167. Which team is primarily focused on the defense, prevention, and mitigation of security threats within an organization? Red team, blue team, white team, purple team. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is blue team, responsible for maintaining and enhancing security defenses and practices within an organization. Flashcard 168. Which team facilitates collaboration between red and blue teams to improve overall security measures within an organization? Red team, blue team, white team, purple team. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is purple team, promotes collaboration between red and blue teams to share insights and improve an organization's security measures. Flashcard 169. Red team. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is focus on simulating attacks to identify vulnerabilities within an organization's defenses. Flashcard 170. What is a risk associated with the use of default configurations on devices and applications? A. Improved security through standardization. B. Decreased exposure to known vulnerabilities. C. Increased susceptibility to unauthorized access. D. Enhanced protection against phishing attacks. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is increased susceptibility to unauthorized access. Default configurations are often widely known and exploited, increasing the risk of unauthorized access if not modified. Flashcard 171. What best defines a USB drop attack? A. Gaining physical access to a building by dropping USB drives in front of entrances. B. A physical attack involving dropping USB devices to damage hardware. C. Placing USB drives with malware in public areas to trick people into using them. D. Intentionally leaving USB drives in an organization's parking lot to gain network access. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is placing USB drives with malware in public areas to trick people into using them. A USB drop attack involves strategically placing USB drives with malware in public areas, hoping someone picks them up and plugs them into their system, inadvertently introducing malware. Flashcard 172. In a busy coffee shop, customers connect to the public Wi-Fi network named Free Coffee Shop Wi-Fi. An attacker sets up a similar-looking access point named Free Coffee Shop Wi-Fi to intercept traffic. What type of wireless attack is this scenario an example of? Rogue access point attack, evil twin attack, deauthentication attack, packet sniffing attack. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is evil twin attack, where an attacker sets up an unauthorized Wi-Fi access point with a name similar to the legitimate network, aiming to intercept and collect users' data. Flashcard 173. Rogue access point attack. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is involve unauthorized access points. Flashcard 174. Pocket sniffing attack. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is involve intersecting and monitoring network communication. Flashcard 175. Deauthentication attack. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is attacks involve disconnecting devices from networks. Flashcard 176. At a business conference, an attendee discovers their Bluetooth-enabled device has received unsolicited business card data from an unknown source. What kind of wireless attack might this scenario indicate? Bluejacking attack, man-in-the-middle attack, or driving attack, blue snarfing attack. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is bluejacking attack. This scenario indicates a bluejacking attack, where unsolicited messages or business card data is sent to Bluetooth-enabled devices without the user's consent. Flashcard 177. In a public library, a hacker placed a device to capture wireless network traffic, allowing them to collect login credentials and personal information from users connecting to the library's public Wi-Fi. What kind of wireless attack does this scenario represent? Packet sniffing attack, evil twin attack, rogue access point attack, or driving attack. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is packet sniffing attack, where a device captures and analyzes wireless network traffic, enabling the theft of sensitive user information. Flashcard 178. War driving. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is the act of searching for Wi-Fi networks while driving. Flashcard 179. A small business recently conducted a vulnerability scan on its network and found multiple weaknesses in its web server, leaving it susceptible to SQL injection attacks. What should be the immediate response to address these vulnerabilities? Consider upgrading the network infrastructure to mitigate the vulnerabilities. B. Perform another vulnerability scan to verify the findings and their severity. C. Implement security measures or patches to fix the SQL injection vulnerabilities. D. Ignore the vulnerabilities as they may not pose an immediate threat. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is implement security measures or patches to fix the SQL injection vulnerabilities. Upon discovering SQL injection vulnerabilities in the web server, the immediate response should involve implementing security measures or patches to fix these vulnerabilities and enhance security. Flashcard 180. During a network security assessment, the scanning tool flags an outdated software version as a high-severity risk. After manual investigation, it's revealed that the software's vulnerability has been patched. What type of detection is this likely to be? false positive, false negative, true positive, true negative. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is false positive. The scanning tool misidentifies the patched vulnerability as a high-severity risk, indicating a false positive. Incorrect answer explanations. B. A false negative would involve missing an actual vulnerability, not an already patched one. C. True positive indicates correctly identifying an actual vulnerability. D. True negative denotes accurately identifying the absence of a vulnerability. Flashcard 181. A user downloads and installs what appears to be a legitimate software application, but it contains hidden malicious code that compromises the security of the user's system. What type of malicious software does this scenario describe? Worm, Trojan, spyware, ransomware. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Trojan, a type of malicious software disguised as a legitimate program, but containing hidden malicious functionality. Flashcard 182. A piece of malicious software spreads across a network by exploiting vulnerabilities in software and making copies of itself on other devices. What type of malicious software does this scenario describe? Trojan, worm, spyware, adware. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is worm, a type of self-replicating malware that spreads across networks without user intervention. Flashcard 183. A user unknowingly installs software on their computer that secretly monitors their online activities, records keystrokes, and sends this information to a remote server. What type of malicious software does this scenario describe? Worm, Trojan, spyware, ransomware. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is spyware, designed to gather and transmit user information without the user's knowledge. Flashcard 184. Why is it important to regularly review and update secure baselines in response to evolving cybersecurity threats? To increase system performance, to satisfy regulatory compliance, to adapt to changing threat landscapes, to reduce the need for security training. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is to adapt to changing threat landscapes. Regularly reviewing and updating secure baselines allows organizations to adapt to new and evolving cybersecurity threats. This proactive approach helps ensure that systems remain resilient against emerging risks. Flashcard 185. How can secure baselines facilitate a rapid and consistent response across multiple systems? A. By disabling all network connections. B. By restoring systems from a previous backup. C. By providing a predefined security configuration. D. By updating antivirus software on all systems. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is by providing a predefined security configuration. Secure baselines offer predefined security configurations. In response to a software vulnerability, applying these configurations across multiple systems ensures a rapid and consistent response to mitigate the risk. Flashcard 186. In a cloud environment where multiple virtual machines (VMS) are deployed, what is a recommended security measure as part of hardening the virtualized infrastructure? A. Disabling all monitoring and loading to reduce resource consumption. B. Enforcing strong and unique credentials for each VMC. Implementing network security groups and access controls. D. Regularly updating virtualization software for stability. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Implementing network security groups and access controls. Network security groups (NSGs) and access controls help control inbound and outbound traffic, restricting access and enhancing security in a virtualized environment. Flashcard 187. How can heat maps be applied to identify potential areas of vulnerability in a network infrastructure? A. By mapping the physical locations of network devices. B. By visualizing patterns of user authentication. C. By tracking the frequency of software updates. D. By analyzing the temperature of server rooms. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is by visualizing patterns of user authentication. Heat maps can visualize patterns of user authentication attempts and highlight potential areas of vulnerability, such as multiple failed login attempts or unusual access patterns, aiding in identifying potential security threats. Flashcard 188. A company is implementing a guest Wi-Fi network to provide internet access to visitors. What wireless security settings should be configured to isolate guest devices from the internal corporate network? MAC filtering. WPA3 enterprise. WPA2 PSK VLAN segregation. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is LAN segregation. VLAN separate network traffic into different logical segments, allowing the creation of distinct broadcast domains. By assigning the guest Wi-Fi network to a separate VLAN, you can effectively isolate it from the internal corporate network, enhancing security. Flashcard 189. A company wants to enhance the security of its Wi-Fi network by preventing unauthorized access. What wireless security settings should be configured to achieve this goal without relying solely on passwords? Disable SSID broadcasting. Enable WPA3. Implement biometric authentication. Enable MAC address filtering. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is enable MAC address filtering. MAC address filtering adds an extra layer of access control by allowing only devices with approved MAC addresses to connect, enhancing security beyond passwords. Flashcard 190. Network administrators are concerned about Wi-Fi eavesdropping and unauthorized access. What wireless security settings should be configured to encrypt wireless traffic and protect against such threats? Enable WPS Wi-Fi protected setup. Use WEP encryption. Implement WPA2 Enterprise. Enable WPA3 PSK. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is implement WPA2 Enterprise. WPA2 Enterprise provides strong encryption and authentication mechanisms, safeguarding wireless traffic against eavesdropping and unauthorized access. Flashcard 191. A financial institution is implementing a secure online banking platform. What cryptographic protocol should be used to ensure secure and private communication between the customer's web browser and the banking server? ASTLS RSA HMAC. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is TLS Transport Layer Security. TLS is widely used for securing web communication, ensuring the confidentiality and integrity of data exchanged between a customer's browser and the banking server. Flashcard 192. A company is developing a secure file transfer system and is concerned about the risk of data interception during transit. What is the greatest risk associated with data interception and how can it be mitigated? A risk: unauthorized access, mitigation. Implementing end-to-end encryption. B. Risk: data corruption, mitigation. regular data backup C risk, password compromise, mitigation, two-factor authentication D risk, network congestion, mitigation, load balancing. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is risk, unauthorized access, mitigation. Implementing end-to-end encryption. The greatest risk of data interception is unauthorized access. Implementing end-to-end encryption mitigates this risk by ensuring that only authorized parties can decrypt and access the intercepted data. Flashcard 193. A company is implementing secure remote access for its employees and needs a centralized authentication and authorization solution. What is the best use case for implementing Radius in this scenario? Encrypting data in transit, authenticating users for remote access, managing network traffic congestion, securing wireless communication. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is authenticating users for remote access. The best use case for implementing Radius in this scenario is authenticating users for remote access. Radius provides a centralized authentication and authorization mechanism, ensuring secure user access to the network. Flashcard 194. How can input validation contribute to preventing brute force attacks? A. Limiting the length of usernames. B. Enforcing strong password policies. C. Implementing account lockout mechanisms. D. Using biometric authentication. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is implementing account lockout mechanisms. Implementing account lockout mechanisms, triggered after a certain number of failed login attempts, helps prevent brute force attacks by slowing down or blocking repeated login attempts. Flashcard 195. In a software development project, why is code signing used and what security benefits does it provide? A. Code signing ensures code confidentiality during development. B. Code signing guarantees that the code is free of bugs and vulnerabilities. C. Code signing verifies the integrity and authenticity of software binaries. D. Code signing accelerates the execution speed of compiled code. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is code signing verifies the integrity and authenticity of software binaries. Using digital signatures, helping users trust that the code has not been tampered with and confirming its origin. Flashcard 196. Which of the following methods is considered a secure way to destroy data on a hard drive? A. Deleting files and emptying the recycle bin. B. Formatting the hard drive. C. Overwriting the data with random patterns. D. Moving the data to an external storage device. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is overwriting the data with random patterns. Overwriting data with random patterns multiple times is a secure method to ensure that the original data is unrecoverable. This process helps prevent data remnants from being reconstructed. Flashcard 197. Which of the following methods is commonly used for the secure destruction of solid-state drives (SSDs) to prevent data recovery? Overwriting with random patterns. Degaussing, physical shredding, formatting. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is physical shredding. Physical destruction, such as shredding, is a common method for securely destroying SSDs. Unlike traditional hard drives, SSDs do not use magnetic storage, making degaussing less effective. Flashcard 198. A security administrator is implementing a network access control (NAC) solution. What is the primary purpose of NAC in a network security context? identifying network vulnerabilities, authenticating and authorizing devices, encrypting data traffic between devices, conducting vulnerability scans on network devices. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is authenticating and authorizing devices. Network access control (NAC) is designed to authenticate and authorize devices before they are granted access to the network, ensuring that only authorized and compliant devices connect. Flashcard 199. An organization is implementing a data backup strategy to ensure data availability and recoverability. What is a key consideration when defining backup retention policies? A. Maximizing backup frequency to reduce data loss. B. Storing backup copies in the same location as the primary data. C. Establishing a balance between retention period and storage costs. D. Avoiding encryption to speed up the backup process. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is establishing a balance between retention period and storage costs. Backup retention policies should strike a balance between the retention period, how long backups are kept, and storage costs, ensuring that essential data is retained without incurring unnecessary expenses. Flashcard 200. A security analyst at a Security Operations Center (SOC) noticed an intrusion detection system has flagged a user's repeated failed login attempts as a potential security threat. After investigation, the analyst found that the user was attempting to log in with an expired password. What type of situation is this? False positive, false negative, true positive, true negative. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is false positive. In this situation, the security system incorrectly identified a benign activity, expired password attempts, as a potential security threat. Flashcard 201. A system administrator receives a report from an antivirus program indicating that it successfully scanned and approved a file. However, the file later turns out to be a new strain of malware that the antivirus software did not recognize. What type of situation is this? False positive, false negative, true positive, true negative. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is false negative. In this case, the antivirus program failed to detect a genuine security threat, categorizing the new strain of malware as safe. Flashcard 202. During a penetration test, the testing team identifies a critical security flaw in the web application that allows them to execute arbitrary code on the server. What is the most appropriate next step for the penetration testers? A. Exploiting the vulnerability further to assess the system's response. B. Immediately reporting the vulnerability to the organization's security team. C. Documenting the vulnerability for future reference. D. Ignoring the vulnerability to avoid disrupting operations. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is immediately reporting the vulnerability to the organization's security team. In a responsible penetration testing approach, discovering critical vulnerabilities should prompt the testers to report their findings promptly to the organization's security team, enabling swift remediation. Flashcard 203. A security assessment reveals that an application does not properly validate and sanitize user input, allowing an attacker to manipulate database queries. What type of vulnerability is most likely present in the application? Cross-site scripting, XSS, SQL injection, cross-site request forgery, CSRF, clickjacking vulnerability. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is SQL injection. In this scenario, The lack of proper input validation and sanitation suggests that an attacker can inject malicious SQL code, potentially leading to unauthorized access or manipulation of the database. Flashcard 204. A security administrator is configuring a firewall to control incoming and outgoing network traffic. What type of firewall rule should be implemented to allow only specific IP addresses to access a particular server? Ingress rule, egress rule, implicit deny rule, explicit allow rule. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is explicit allow rule. An explicit allow rule specifies the IP addresses or network ranges that are explicitly permitted to access a particular server, allowing only those specified addresses while denying all others. Flashcard 205. During a routine vulnerability scan, your team discovers a web server with an open port that is not essential for its operation. What is the most appropriate action in response to this finding? A. Ignore the open port, as it may be a false positive. B. Immediately close the open port to minimize the attack surface. C. Document the finding and continue with the scan. D. Conduct further analysis to determine the port's purpose. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is conduct further analysis to determine the port's purpose. Before taking action, it's important to understand the purpose of the open port and assess whether it poses a security risk. Flashcard 206. An organization uses an automated vulnerability scanning tool to assess the security of network devices. What is a potential limitation of relying solely on automated scanning? Limited coverage of the network infrastructure. Slow response time to emerging threats. Inability to identify false positives. Lack of integration with other security tools. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is inability to identify false positives. Automated scanning tools may generate false positives, and human analysis is often required to distinguish between true and false vulnerabilities. Flashcard 207. After implementing a patch to address a critical security vulnerability, what is a crucial step in the validation of remediation? A. Conducting a comprehensive security audit of all systems. B. Verifying that the patch is applied to all affected systems. C. Ignoring the remediation and focusing on future vulnerabilities. D. Conducting penetration testing on the patched systems. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is verifying that the patch is applied to all affected systems. After implementing a patch, it is essential to verify that the patch is successfully applied to all systems affected by the vulnerability. Flashcard 208. An organization has implemented a security information and event management SIEM system to centralize and analyze security logs. What is a key benefit of using a SIEM system for security alerting and monitoring? A. Automatic resolution of security incidents. B. Real-time correlation and analysis of security events. C. Elimination of the need for antivirus software. D. Prevention of all potential security threats. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is real-time correlation and analysis of security events. A SIEM system provides real-time correlation and analysis of security events from various sources, enabling proactive detection and response to potential security threats. Flashcard 209. In a firewall access control list ACL, what is the purpose of the implicit deny any rule? To allow all traffic by default. To block all traffic by default. To prioritize specific rules over the implicit deny any. To allow traffic from specific IP addresses. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is to block all traffic by default. To block all traffic by default. The implicit deny any rule in an access control list ACL blocks all traffic that does not match preceding rules. Flashcard 210. Your organization wants to allow only email traffic through the firewall. What port is commonly associated with email communication? Port 80, port 25, port 443, port 53. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is port 25. Port 25 is commonly associated with Simple Mail Transfer Protocol (SMTP), used for email communication. Flashcard 211. Your organization's firewall is configured to allow traffic on port 21. What type of traffic is most likely being permitted through this port? HTTP traffic, SMTP traffic, FTP traffic, DNS traffic. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is FTP traffic. FTP traffic. Port 21 is commonly associated with the File Transfer Protocol (FTP), used for file transfers. Flashcard 212. An organization wants to allow only secure web traffic through the firewall. What port is commonly associated with secure web communication? Port 80, port 443, port 25, port 110. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is port 443. Port 443 is commonly associated with HTTPS Hypertext Transfer Protocol Secure, which is used for secure web communication. Flashcard 213. What is the primary benefit of implementing DNS filtering in a cybersecurity strategy? Encrypting all DNS traffic for enhanced privacy. B. Blocking access to known malicious websites and domains. C. Increasing the speed of DNS resolution for all queries. D. Authenticating DNS servers to prevent DNS spoofing attacks. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is blocking access to known malicious websites and domains. DNS filtering helps prevent users from accessing malicious or undesirable websites by blocking DNS requests to known malicious domains. Flashcard 214. What is the primary purpose of Sender Policy Framework (SPF) in email security? To encrypt email messages. To authenticate the source of email messages. To filter spam based on content. To compress email attachments for faster delivery. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is to authenticate the source of email messages. SPF allows the domain owner to specify which mail servers are authorized to send emails on behalf of their domain. Flashcard 215. An employee changes roles within an organization. What is a critical consideration in user account provisioning to maintain security? A. Delaying the account update until the employee settles into the new role. B. Immediately revoking all previous access rights. C. Granting additional access rights to accommodate the new role. D. Collaborating with the employee and the IT team to adjust access appropriately. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is collaborating with the employee and the IT team to adjust access appropriately when an employee changes roles. Collaboration between the employee, their new team, and the IT team is essential to ensure that access is adjusted according to the new responsibilities. Flashcard 216. A company frequently collaborates with external vendors. What security measures should be emphasized during user account provisioning for these external entities? A requiring external vendors to manage their own access. B. Implementing least privilege access for external vendor accounts. C. Providing external vendors with the same access as internal employees. D. Relying on strong network firewalls to restrict external vendor access. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is implementing least privilege access for external vendor accounts. Implementing least privilege access ensures that external vendors have only the minimum access necessary to perform their specific tasks, reducing the risk of unauthorized access. Flashcard 217. During a penetration test, the testing team discovers that an organization's wireless network is using outdated encryption protocols, making it susceptible to attacks. What type of vulnerability is present in the wireless network? Denial of service 2S vulnerability, man-in-the-middle M vulnerability, injection vulnerability, privilege escalation vulnerability. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is man-in-the-middle M vulnerability. Outdated encryption protocols in a wireless network can expose it to man-in-the-middle attacks, where an attacker intercepts and potentially alters the communication between devices. Flashcard 218. Where employees have access to sensitive customer data, what measures should be implemented to minimize the risk of data breaches resulting from permission assignments? A. Providing employees with read-only access to customer data. B. Regularly rotating permission assignments to different employees. C. Implementing the principle of least privilege for access. D. Allowing employees to have unrestricted access to customer data. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is implementing the principle of least privilege for access. Flashcard 219. In a large organization with diverse departments and job roles, which access control model is most effective for simplifying administration while ensuring that employees have the necessary permissions for their roles? Discretionary access control DC, role-based access control RBAC, rule-based access control RUBC, attribute-based access control ABAC. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is role-based access control RBAC, effective in simplifying administration by assigning permissions based on job roles. This ensures that employees have the necessary access rights for their roles without requiring complex individual permissions. Flashcard 220. In a high-compliance environment where multi-factor authentication is mandated, which combination of authentication implementations is recommended for enhanced security? A. Biometrics and security keys. B. Hard authentication tokens and soft authentication tokens. C. Biometrics and hard authentication tokens. D. Soft authentication tokens and security keys. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is biometrics and security keys. Combining biometrics and security keys provides a strong multi-factor authentication solution. Biometrics offer a unique physiological factor, and security keys provide a possession factor, enhancing overall security in a high-compliance environment. Flashcard 221. In an online banking application, entering a username and password is an example of which authentication factor? Something you know, something you have, something you are, somewhere you are. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is something you know. Flashcard 222. Using a smart card or a physical security token to gain access to a secure building is an example of which authentication factor? Something you know, something you have, something you are, somewhere you are. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is something you have. Flashcard 223. What is the primary purpose of setting a minimum password length requirement in a security policy? A. To encourage users to create complex passwords. B. To reduce the likelihood of password reuse. C. To enhance resistance against brute force attacks. D. To streamline the password reset process. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is to enhance resistance against brute force attacks. Flashcard 224. What is the primary advantage of using a password manager for secure password management in an organization? A. Increased resistance against brute force attacks. B. Simplified password creation process. C. Elimination of the need for password policies. Decentralized and secure storage of complex passwords. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is centralized and secure storage of complex passwords. The primary advantage of using a password manager is the centralized and secure storage of complex passwords. Password managers store unique and strong passwords for different accounts in an encrypted vault, enhancing security. Flashcard 225. What is the primary purpose of implementing password vaulting in an organization's security infrastructure? A. To eliminate the need for user authentication. B. To store plaintext passwords for quick retrieval. C. To securely manage and control access to sensitive passwords. D. To enforce strict password complexity requirements. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is to securely manage and control access to sensitive passwords. The primary purpose of implementing password vaulting is to securely manage and control access to sensitive passwords. Password vaults store encrypted passwords, allowing controlled access for authorized users. Flashcard 226. During an incident response, which data source is essential for understanding user activities and authentication events on a system? Network packet captures, antivirus logs, security information, and event management SIEM data. Windows event logs. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Windows event logs. Windows event logs contain information about user activities, authentication events, and system events on Windows systems, making them essential for incident response investigations. Flashcard 227. Which data source is crucial for analyzing user activity and authentication on a Unix/Linux system during an investigation? Windows event logs, syslog data, Active Directory logs, application logs. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is syslog data. Syslog is a standard logging protocol used by Unix/Linux systems to generate and collect log messages. It is essential for analyzing user activity and authentication events on these systems. Flashcard 228. In a large enterprise environment, how does automation contribute to vulnerability management? By introducing delays in the patching process, by prioritizing vulnerabilities based on risk, by delegating all vulnerability assessments to external vendors, by replacing the need for periodic vulnerability scans. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is By prioritizing vulnerabilities based on risk automation, and vulnerability management helps prioritize vulnerabilities based on their risk level. This allows security teams to focus on addressing the most critical vulnerabilities first, improving the overall security posture. Flashcard 229. How can data loss prevention (DLP) help protect intellectual property and sensitive research findings? A. By requiring employees to sign non-disclosure agreements. B. By encrypting all data stored on research servers. C. By monitoring and preventing the unauthorized sharing of research data. D. By implementing physical security measures in the R&D facility. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is by monitoring and preventing the unauthorized sharing of research data. DLP helps protect intellectual property and sensitive research findings by monitoring and preventing the unauthorized sharing of research data. It ensures that valuable information remains confidential. Flashcard 230. A critical server must remain operational even during scheduled maintenance. Which compensating control can be implemented to minimize downtime? Implementing load balancing utilizing hot standby servers, increasing server hardware capacity, enforcing strict access controls. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is utilizing hot standby servers when minimizing downtime during scheduled maintenance for a critical server. Utilizing hot standby servers is a compensating control that can be implemented. This ensures that if one server undergoes maintenance, the hot standby server can seamlessly take over, reducing the impact on operations. Flashcard 231. Firewall logs reveal multiple unsuccessful login attempts originating from various external IP addresses. How can the analysis of firewall logs enhance the security posture of the network in response to this situation? Implementing stronger password policies for all users. B. Blocking the external IP addresses with unsuccessful login attempts. C. Conducting a comprehensive review of internal network configurations. D. Increasing the network bandwidth to accommodate the login traffic. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is blocking the external IP addresses with unsuccessful login attempts. The analysis of firewall logs can enhance security by identifying and responding to suspicious activities. In this scenario, blocking the external IP addresses with unsuccessful login attempts is a proactive measure to mitigate potential threats and strengthen the security posture of the network. Flashcard 232. Employees need seamless access to various systems and applications across different geographical locations. How can Federation enhance user access while maintaining security? Enforcing strict geographical access restrictions for all users. B. Implementing separate user accounts for each system to ensure isolation. C. Utilizing a single sign-on SSO Federation for centralized authentication. D. Restricting access to specific systems based on the user's physical location. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is utilizing a single sign-on SSO Federation for centralized authentication. Federation, particularly through single sign-on SSO, can enhance user access across different geographical locations. SSO provides centralized authentication, allowing users to access multiple systems with a single set of credentials. This improves user experience while maintaining security. Flashcard 233. How can the use of IDS/IPS signatures aid in detecting and preventing the spread of this specific ransomware variant? Implementing network segmentation to isolate infected devices. B. Analyzing the system logs for unusual user activity. C. Configuring IDS/IPS devices to detect the specific ransomware signatures. D. Conducting a thorough review of employee access permissions. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is configuring IDS/IPS devices to detect the specific ransomware signatures. The use of IDS/IPS intrusion detection system/intrusion prevention system signatures involves configuring devices to detect specific patterns associated with known threats, such as ransomware. In this scenario, configuring IDS/IPS devices to detect the specific ransomware signatures can help in identifying and preventing the spread of the newly identified ransomware variant. Flashcard 234. Port 22. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is SSH. Provides secure remote terminal access and file transfer capabilities. SCP provides secure copy functions. SFTP provides secure file transfers. TCP. Flashcard 235. Port 23. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Telnet provides insecure remote control of another machine using text-based environment. TCP. Flashcard 236. Port 25. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. SMTP provides the ability to send emails over the network. TCP. Flashcard 237. Port 53. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Domain Name System. DNS translates domain names into IP addresses. TCP and UDP. Flashcard 238. Port 69. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Trivial File Transfer Protocol. TFTP used as a lightweight file transfer method for sending configuration files or network booting of operating system. UDP. Flashcard 239. Port 80. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Hypertext Transfer Protocol. HTTP used for insecure web browsing. TCP. Flashcard 240. Port 88. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Kerberos Network Authentication Protocol. UDP. Flashcard 241. Port 110. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Post Office Protocol version 3. POP3 responsible for retrieving email from a server. TCP. Flashcard 242. Port 119. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Network News Transfer Protocol. NNTP used for accessing newsgroups. TCP. Flashcard 243. Port 135. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Remote Procedure Call. RPC facilitates communication between system processes. TCP and UDP. Flashcard 244. Port 137, 138, 139. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is NetBIOS Networking Protocol Suite TCP and UDP operates as an application layer network protocol for device communication and Windows operating systems over a network. Flashcard 245. Port 143. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Internet Message Access Protocol IMAP allows access to email messages on a server TCP. Flashcard 246. Port 161. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is SNMP Simple Network Management Protocol manages network devices UDP. Flashcard 247. Port 162. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is SNMP Trap responsible for SNMP Trap messages UDP. Flashcard 248. Port 389. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is LDAP Lightweight Directory Access Protocol facilitates directory serves TCP. Flashcard 249. Port 443. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is HTTPS Secure provides secure web communication TCP. Flashcard 250. Port 445. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is SMB Sever Message Block used for file and printer sharing over a network TCP. Flashcard 251. Port 465, 587. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is SMTP Secure provides secure SMTP communication TCP. Flashcard 252. Port 514. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is syslog used for sending log messages UDP. Flashcard 253. Port 636. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is LDAP Secure LDAP Communication over SSL/TLS TCP. Flashcard 254. Port 993. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Internet Message Access Protocol over SSL/TLS IMAPs used for secure email retrieval TCP. Flashcard 255. Port 995. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Post Office Protocol version 3 over SSL/TLS POP3s used for secure email retrieval TCP. Flashcard 256. Port 15433. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Microsoft SQL used to facilitate communication with Microsoft SQL Server TCP. Flashcard 257. Port 1645. 1646. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Radius Remote Authentication used for remote authentication, authorization, and accounting TCP. Flashcard 258. Port Win 8 and 12, Win 8 and 13. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Radius UDP used for authentication and accounting as defined by the Internet Engineering Task Force IETF UDP. Flashcard 259. Port 6 and 14. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Syslog TLS used in a secure syslog that uses SSL/TLS to encrypt the IP packets using a certificate before sending them across the IP network to the syslog collector TCP. Flashcard 260. Port 3389. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is RDP Remote Desktop Protocol enables remote desktop access TCP. Flashcard 261. How does an acceptable use policy AUP contribute to cybersecurity in an organization? A. By implementing strict controls on sharing sensitive information. B. By establishing guidelines for secure and responsible use of IT resources. C. By promoting the use of strong passwords for enhanced security. D. By actively encouraging employees to promptly report security incidents. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is by establishing guidelines for secure and responsible use of IT resources. AUPs play a crucial role in cybersecurity by setting guidelines for the secure and responsible use of IT resources, helping to prevent security incidents and protect sensitive information. Flashcard 262. Why is effective security governance crucial for managing cybersecurity risks? To ignore potential security threats and vulnerabilities, to ensure a reactive approach to security incidents, to provide a strategic framework for identifying and mitigating risks, to delegate all security responsibilities to individual departments. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is to provide a strategic framework for identifying and mitigating risks. Effective security governance provides a strategic framework for identifying and mitigating cybersecurity risks across the organization, allowing for a proactive and coordinated approach to security. Flashcard 263. What is the primary goal of business continuity planning? To prevent all security incidents, to minimize the impact of disruptions on business operations, to recover data after a security incident, to detect security threats proactively. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is to minimize the impact of disruptions on business operations. The primary goal of business continuity planning is to ensure that an organization can continue its critical functions during and after disruptions. This involves minimizing the impact on business operations and maintaining essential functions. Flashcard 264. Which of the following is a key element of a disaster recovery plan? Routine security awareness training, off-site data backups, firewall configuration, user account management. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is off-site data backups. Disaster recovery plans include provisions for off-site data backups to ensure that critical data can be restored in the event of a disaster or data loss. Flashcard 265. What is the purpose of a business impact analysis BIA in business continuity planning? To identify potential security threats, to assess the financial impact of security incidents, to prioritize critical business functions and processes, to create incident response procedures. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is to prioritize critical business functions and processes. A business impact analysis (BIA) is conducted to identify and prioritize critical business functions and processes, helping organizations allocate resources effectively during disruptions. Flashcard 266. What is a key difference between business continuity planning and disaster recovery planning? A business continuity planning focuses on technology, while disaster recovery planning focuses on people and processes. Disaster recovery planning is concerned with long-term disruptions, while business continuity planning addresses short-term incidents. Business continuity planning encompasses the entire organization, while disaster recovery planning is specific to IT systems. Disaster recovery planning is a proactive measure, while business continuity planning is reactive. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is business continuity planning encompasses the entire organization, while disaster recovery planning is specific to IT systems. Flashcard 267. A company is implementing a backup and recovery solution for its production systems. The team wants to ensure minimal data loss in case of a disruption. What concept is the team primarily concerned with in this scenario? RPO recovery point objective, RTO recovery time objective, SLA service level agreement, BCP business continuity planning. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is RPO recovery point objective. The team is primarily concerned with minimizing data loss, which is the purpose of the recovery point objective RPO. Flashcard 268. RTO recovery time objective. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is focuses on the time it takes to restore systems. Flashcard 269. SLA service level agreement. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is an agreement that defines the level of service. Flashcard 270. Which government structure is likely to prioritize risk management and compliance? Regulatory governance, enterprise governance, risk-based governance, compliance governance. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is enterprise governance. Enterprise governance integrates various aspects, including risk management and compliance, into a unified framework. This ensures a holistic approach to governance that addresses both regulatory requirements and overall organizational objectives. Incorrect answers. Regulatory governance may focus primarily on meeting external regulations, potentially overlooking broader enterprise objectives. Risk-based governance. While risk-based governance is important, enterprise governance provides a more comprehensive framework. Compliance governance may address regulatory requirements, but might lack a broader view of overall organizational governance. Flashcard 271. Which role would be responsible for defining access controls, ensuring data integrity, and overseeing the overall security posture of the customer database? Data processor, data custodian, data controller, data owner. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is data owner, responsible for defining access controls, ensuring data integrity, and overseeing the overall security posture of the customer database. They make decisions about how data should be handled and who should have access to it. Flashcard 272. Data processor. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is an individual or organization that processes data on behalf of the data controller. Although they are often third-party providers, a data controller can also be this person. Flashcard 273. Which role would be responsible for ensuring that data processing activities comply with data protection regulations, obtaining consent from customers, and responding to data subject requests? Data custodian, data processor, data controller, data owner. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is data controller, responsible for ensuring that data processing activities comply with data protection regulations, obtaining consent, and responding to data subject requests. They determine the purpose and means of processing personal data. Flashcard 274. Which role would be responsible for ensuring the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of patient health records, implementing access controls, and conducting regular security training for staff? Data custodian, chief information officer, CIO, compliance officer, data processor. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is data custodian. A healthcare institution is responsible for ensuring the confidentiality, integrity, and availability of patient health records. They implement access controls and conduct security training for staff to maintain the security of sensitive health data. Flashcard 275. Which type of risk assessment would be most suitable for identifying and addressing emerging cybersecurity threats and vulnerabilities in real time? Ad hoc risk assessment, recurring risk assessment, one-time risk assessment, continuous risk assessment. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is continuous risk assessment. In a dynamic technology startup where the risk landscape is constantly changing, a continuous risk assessment is most suitable. It enables real-time identification and mitigation of emerging cybersecurity threats and vulnerabilities. Flashcard 276. Recurring risk assessment. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is conducted at scheduled intervals. Flashcard 277. One-time risk assessment. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is conducted at a specific point in time. Flashcard 278. Which type of risk assessment would be most appropriate for identifying potential security vulnerabilities in a new software release before it goes live? Ad hoc risk assessment, recurring risk assessment, one-time risk assessment, continuous risk assessment. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is ad hoc risk assessment. In a software development context, an ad hoc risk assessment is suitable for identifying potential security vulnerabilities in a new software release before it goes live. It allows for targeted assessments during critical phases of the development lifecycle. Flashcard 279. Continuous risk assessment. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is involve ongoing monitoring. Flashcard 280. In a software development project aiming to release a new version of a popular application, Which type of risk analysis would be most appropriate for assigning qualitative measures to potential risks related to project timelines, software bugs, and user acceptance? Qualitative risk analysis, quantitative risk analysis, comparative risk analysis, predictive risk analysis. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is qualitative risk analysis involves assigning qualitative measures to potential risks. In a software development project, this approach is suitable for assessing risks related to project timelines, software bugs, and user acceptance, providing a subjective understanding of their impact. Flashcard 281. In a cybersecurity project aiming to protect a financial institution's network infrastructure, which type of risk analysis would be most appropriate for assigning numerical values to potential risks such as data breaches, system vulnerabilities, and financial losses? Qualitative risk analysis, quantitative risk analysis, comparative risk analysis, predictive risk analysis. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is quantitative risk analysis involves assigning numerical values to potential risks. In a cybersecurity project for a financial institution, this approach is suitable for assessing the numerical impact of risks such as data breaches, system vulnerabilities, and potential financial losses. Flashcard 282. Comparative risk analysis. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is focuses on comparing risks. Flashcard 283. Predictive risk analysis. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is involves forecasting future events. Flashcard 284. A cloud service provider experiences a service outage that lasts for 10 hours. During this time, the company estimates a loss of $50,000 in revenue. If the likelihood of such an outage occurring is determined to be 5% annually, what is the single loss expectancy SLE for this event? $2,500, $10,000, $50,000, $1 million. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is $2,500 calculation. SLE equals loss per event asterisk probability of event equals $50,000 asterisk 5% equals $50,000 asterisk 0.05 equals $2,500. Flashcard 285. A healthcare organization is assessing the potential financial impact of a cybersecurity breach that could expose sensitive patient information. The estimated cost of addressing the breach and potential legal consequences is $500,000. If the likelihood of a cybersecurity breach in a given year is 8%, what is the annualized loss expectancy AL? $40,000, $80,000, $100,000, $450,000. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is $40,000. The annualized loss expectancy AL is calculated by multiplying the single loss expectancy SLE by the annualized likelihood. In this case, AL equals $500,000 asterisk 8% equals $40,000. Flashcard 286. During the due diligence process for vendor selection, what steps can help uncover potential conflicts of interest? Investigating the vendor's financial stability, interviewing key stakeholders within the organization, conducting background checks on vendor employees, relying solely on the vendor's self-disclosure of potential conflicts. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is conducting background checks on vendor employees. Flashcard 287. In the process of due diligence with a new software vendor, what aspect should be assessed to ensure compliance with licensing requirements? The vendor's employee training programs, the software's user interface design, the vendor's financial stability, the software licensing agreements. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is the software licensing agreements. Flashcard 288. An organization is forming a partnership with a research institution to share resources and collaborate on joint projects. What type of agreement would you use to outline the terms of collaboration, responsibilities, and expectations without creating a legally binding contract? Service Level Agreement, SLA Memorandum of Agreement, MOA Memorandum of Understanding, MOU Non-Disclosure Agreement, NDA. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Memorandum of Understanding, MOU. MOU is commonly used for collaborations where the parties want to outline their intentions, responsibilities, and expectations without creating a legally binding contract. Flashcard 289. An organization is entering into a partnership with a vendor to develop custom software. What type of agreement would you use to define the specific technical requirements, deliverables, and milestones of the software development project? Service Level Agreement, SLA Memorandum of Agreement, MOA Memorandum of Understanding, MOU Statement of Work, SOW. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Statement of Work, SOW. A SOW is commonly used in projects to define the scope, objectives, deliverables, timelines, and other project-specific details. Flashcard 290. What type of agreement should be used as a framework to govern the overall relationship, with provisions for scope of work, pricing, and general terms and conditions with a potential vendor? Non-Disclosure Agreement, NDA Master Service Agreement, MSA Service Level Agreement, SLA Memorandum of Understanding, MOU. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Master Service Agreement. MSA and MSA serves as a foundational document that outlines the general terms, conditions, and framework for a long-term business relationship. Flashcard 291. What initial step would you take to gather information about the vendor's security practices and policies before entering into an agreement? Conduct a penetration test on the vendor's software, send the vendor a cybersecurity questionnaire, implement rules of engagement for the vendor, monitor the vendor's network traffic. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is send the vendor a cybersecurity questionnaire. Sending a cybersecurity questionnaire is an initial step to gather information about a vendor's security practices, policies, and overall cybersecurity posture. Flashcard 292. An organization is monitoring a critical third-party vendor's performance and security practices regularly. What key objective does vendor monitoring aim to achieve in this scenario? Establishing new contractual agreements with the vendor, identifying and mitigating potential risks, developing rules of engagement for future engagements, conducting a security questionnaire. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is identifying and mitigating potential risks. The primary objective of vendor monitoring is to identify and mitigate potential risks associated with the vendor's performance and security practices. Flashcard 293. A cybersecurity firm operates in a highly regulated industry, and you've discovered that a critical business process is not in compliance with industry standards. What is a potential consequence of this non-compliance? Reputational damage, sanctions, contractual impacts, loss of license. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is sanctions. In a highly regulated industry, non-compliance can lead to regulatory sanctions, which may include fines or other penalties imposed by regulatory authorities. Flashcard 294. What element is crucial in conducting effective risk assessments to ensure compliance? Implementing intrusion detection systems, collaboration with law enforcement agencies, involvement of key stakeholders, periodic penetration testing. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is involvement of key stakeholders in conducting effective risk assessments. The involvement of key stakeholders, including those responsible for compliance, is crucial to ensure a comprehensive understanding of risks and compliance requirements. Flashcard 295. An organization has experienced a data breach involving sensitive personal information. What legal obligation does your organization likely have in such a situation? Notifying affected individuals and relevant authorities, conducting a penetration test on the affected systems, increasing the budget for security measures, implementing stricter access controls. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is notifying affected individuals and relevant authorities. In many jurisdictions, organizations are legally obligated to notify affected individuals and relevant authorities in the event of a data breach involving sensitive personal information. Flashcard 296. A consulting firm operates in multiple countries within the European Union (EU), each with its own specific data protection laws. What challenge does this pose in regarding privacy compliance? Consistency in implementing security measures, adhering to the principles of data minimization, managing varying local/regional legal requirements, encrypting data backups. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is managing varying local/regional legal requirements. Operating in multiple EU countries means dealing with different local or regional data protection laws. Ensuring compliance requires managing and understanding these varying legal requirements. Flashcard 297. An online business receives a request from an individual to delete their personal data. What legal right is the individual exercising, and how should the organization respond? Right to access, right to rectification, right to be forgotten, right to data portability. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is right to be forgotten. The individual is exercising the right to be forgotten, which allows them to request the deletion of their personal data. Flashcard 298. Right to access. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is involves the individual's right to obtain a copy of their personal data. Flashcard 299. Right to rectification. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is allows individuals to correct inaccurate personal data. Flashcard 300. Right to data portability. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is involves the transfer of personal data to another organization. Flashcard 301. What type of penetration testing is most appropriate for identifying and exploiting vulnerabilities in external-facing web application to assess the security posture of the web application? Defensive penetration testing, social engineering testing, vulnerability assessment, offensive penetration testing. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is offensive penetration testing, also known as ethical hacking, involves actively identifying and exploiting vulnerabilities to assess the security of systems or applications. Flashcard 302. A financial firm is undergoing an assessment to evaluate the effectiveness of its internal controls and security practices. What type of external assessment is most appropriate for this purpose? Regulatory audit examinations, independent third-party audit, security assessment. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is independent third-party audit. An independent third-party audit involves an external entity assessing the effectiveness of internal controls and security practices within an organization. Flashcard 303. An organization wants to assess the security posture of its information systems by engaging an external entity. What type of external audit is most appropriate for this purpose? Security assessment examinations, independent third-party audit, regulatory audit. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is security assessment, often performed by external entities, evaluates the security posture of information systems to identify vulnerabilities and weaknesses. Flashcard 304. Regulatory audit. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is focuses on adherence to regulations. Flashcard 305. Examinations. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is more commonly associated with financial accuracy assessments. Flashcard 306. What type of reconnaissance technique is most suitable for gathering information about potential security vulnerabilities in a competitor's web application without directly interacting with it? Active reconnaissance, social engineering, passive reconnaissance, phishing. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is passive reconnaissance involves collecting information without directly interacting with the target. In this scenario, monitoring public information about the competitor's web application without actively probing it is a passive technique. Flashcard 307. In a penetration test for an unknown environment, what initial phase is crucial for gathering information and understanding the target? Exploitation, post-exploitation, enumeration, reconnaissance. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is reconnaissance. In an unknown environment, the reconnaissance phase is critical for gathering information about the target, including IP ranges, domain names, and other details that aid in subsequent phases of the penetration test. Flashcard 308. Post-exploitation. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is this occurs after successful exploitation and gaining access to the target system. Flashcard 309. Enumeration. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is typically part of the later stages of a penetration test. Flashcard 310. As an IT security specialist, You receive reports from employees about suspicious emails. What is the most appropriate initial action to take in response to these reports? Ignore the reports to avoid causing panic. Immediately forward the emails to all employees as a warning. Verify the reported emails and assess the threat level. Delete the reported emails without further investigation. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is: verify the reported emails and assess the threat level. Flashcard 311. In the event of a suspected phishing attack, what is the primary action employees should take to mitigate the risk? Forward the suspicious email to colleagues for awareness. Click on any embedded links to verify their legitimacy. Immediately delete the suspicious email without opening it. Report the suspicious email to the IT security team. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is: report the suspicious email to the IT security team. Flashcard 312. What is the primary objective of a data classification policy in an organization's security framework? To define security measures for physical data storage, to categorize data based on sensitivity, and define handling procedures, to outline procedures for disaster recovery, to encrypt all sensitive data. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is: to categorize data based on sensitivity and define handling procedures. A data classification policy establishes how data should be categorized based on sensitivity levels and outlines appropriate handling procedures for each category. Flashcard 313. How does implementing account lockout policies contribute to credential security within an organization? Encourages employees to use simple passwords, prevents unauthorized access by limiting login attempts, ensures continuous access to all user accounts, allows unlimited login attempts without restriction. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is: prevents unauthorized access by limiting login attempts. Account lockout policies prevent unauthorized access by restricting the number of unsuccessful login attempts, enhancing credential security. Flashcard 314. In the context of security best practices, what does separation of duties aim to achieve? Assigning multiple duties to a single individual to maximize productivity, limiting an employee's access to specific areas of the workplace, restricting an employee's access to sensitive data and systems, dividing tasks among different individuals to prevent fraud and errors. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is: dividing tasks among different individuals to prevent fraud and errors. Separation of duties ensures that critical functions are divided among multiple individuals to reduce the risk of fraud, errors, and misuse of power. Flashcard 315. What should be included in a comprehensive third-party risk management plan? Legal disclaimers for liability, regular security audits of the organization, a process for onboarding new employees, assessment of third-party access and controls. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is: assessment of third-party access and controls. A comprehensive third-party risk management plan should involve assessing third-party access levels and the controls in place to manage those access privileges. Flashcard 316. How does governance differ from compliance in the context of security management? A governance deals with regulations, while compliance focuses on internal policies. Governance refers to policies, while compliance refers to risk assessment. Governance defines the rules, while compliance ensures adherence to those rules. Governance establishes procedures, while compliance dictates technology use. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is governance defines the rules, while compliance ensures adherence to those rules. Governance sets the framework, rules, and guidelines for security, while compliance is about conforming to those rules and standards. Flashcard 317. What is the primary objective of an IT audit of an organization's security governance? Ensuring all software is up to date, verifying compliance with policies and regulations, implementing new security protocols, assessing user access controls. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is verifying compliance with policies and regulations. An IT audit primarily aims to assess and ensure that the organization complies with established policies, regulations, and industry standards. Flashcard 318. A software development company is collaborating with an external vendor to enhance a proprietary algorithm. What is a primary purpose of having both parties sign an NDA in this scenario? Establishing ownership of the algorithm, preventing the disclosure of confidential information, defining the payment terms for the collaboration, specifying the project timelines and milestones. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is preventing the disclosure of confidential information. The primary purpose of an NDA is to prevent the unauthorized disclosure of confidential information, safeguarding proprietary data during collaborations. Flashcard 319. An organization is implementing a disaster recovery plan, and the IT team needs guidance on the steps to take in case of a data center failure. What is the primary purpose of a disaster recovery playbook in this context? Designing the physical layout of the backup data center, describing the technical specifications of backup servers, outlining the step-by-step procedures for data recovery, identifying potential causes of data center failures. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is outlining the step-by-step procedures for data recovery. A disaster recovery playbook outlines the step-by-step procedures to be followed in the event of a disaster, guiding the IT team through the recovery process. Flashcard 320. Which phase of the software development lifecycle SDLC is focused on identifying and planning for potential security risks? Design, development, testing, requirements. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is requirements. The requirements phase of the SDLC is where potential security risks are identified and planned for before the development process begins. Flashcard 321. Which of the following is an example of a risk scenario where likelihood is a crucial consideration? A server failure causing data loss, a physical break-in resulting in stolen laptops, an employee unintentionally disclosing sensitive information, a power outage leading to temporary system unavailability. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is an employee unintentionally disclosing sensitive information. Likelihood is crucial in scenarios where human behavior, such as unintentional actions, contributes to the risk event. Flashcard 322. What distinguishes independent assessments from internal audits in security management? Independent assessments are conducted by internal staff, while internal audits involve external parties. B. Independent assessments are more focused on compliance, while internal audits focus on risk management. C. Independent assessments are mandatory, while internal audits are optional. D. Independent assessments are limited to technical controls, while internal audits cover all aspects of security. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is Independent assessments are more focused on compliance, while internal audits focus on risk management. Independent assessments often have a stronger emphasis on compliance with external standards and regulations, while internal audits may focus on broader aspects including risk management, operational effectiveness, and adherence to internal policies. Flashcard 323. What is a key responsibility of a security steering committee within an organization's security program management? Day-to-day incident response activities, developing technical security controls, overseeing and providing guidance for the security program, conducting penetration testing regularly. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is overseeing and providing guidance for the security program. A key responsibility of a security steering committee within an organization's security program management is overseeing and providing guidance for the security program. The committee is typically responsible for high-level decision-making and strategic direction. Flashcard 324. What is the primary implementing version control systems in the software development lifecycle (SDLC)? Enhancing software functionality, managing project documentation, tracking changes to source code, ensuring project deadlines are met. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is tracking changes to source code. The primary purpose of version control systems in the context of the SDLC is to track changes to source code. Version control helps developers manage and track modifications made to source code over time, facilitating collaboration and providing a historical record of changes. Flashcard 325. What is a potential consequence of failing to address conflicts of interest in a security-related project? Hindered project collaboration, compromised project integrity, delayed project timelines, reduced project transparency. Think of the answer before the reveal. The answer is compromised project integrity. A potential consequence of failing to address conflicts of interest in a security-related project is compromised project integrity. Unaddressed conflicts of interest can lead to decisions that favor personal interests over the integrity and security of the project.